Hey there, I'm Steve.
And I'm Jen.
And we are The Road Less Traveled. And today we're going to talk to you about full-time RV living, and we're going to discuss our story in terms of how and why we started living full-time in an RV.
Yeah.
Jen?
So we're trying not to make this a convoluted story, trying to get succinct and to the point. But when we started, I actually have notes because Steve and I started piecing together our story on how we hit the road, why we hit the road. And what we found is that there were a series of moments that led us to going full time. So the first thing is that Steve wanted to move to California. A little background, we lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. We met in Raleigh, North Carolina and lived there for 18 years. So Steve, why'd you want to go to California? Because some of our viewers don't like California.
Yes, it's been made apparent in the comments for sure. I lived on the East Coast my whole life. I grew up in a suburb in Washington, D.C., and I lived in Raleigh after that. So I wanted to just do something different. I had a feeling that I had seen most of what there is to see on the East Coast. Vacations within driving distance just weren't really all that interesting anymore, and I was craving some novelty. Plus, every time we'd ever been to California in the past, I mean, granted it's been on vacation, which is a little different than real life, I've always just felt really happy there. Feels like the weather's generally good, and it just feels like it's a different kind of vibe out there that I actually enjoy. So I really wanted to just do something different.
And I was pretty tied to Raleigh. I have lived in the South most of my life, except for a short stint in grad school in Illinois. But my first plan was like, let's just leave Raleigh in the summer because it's miserable in the summer. I don't want to be here either. And we kind of said, you know, that's not going to work. Too many logistics. We can't really just leave for the summer. And so after it took a while for me to get on board. I mean, I think I was running one day and I said, you know what, I've been here 18 years. I have good friends and family here. Maybe it's time to explore somewhere else. So I was like, all right, I'm on board. It wasn't that quick. It took a while, but I said yes. And then 2019 is I think when we made the call to August-ish. Again, we're piecing this together. We said, all right, we're gonna go, and we're gonna go by, my date was July 2020. Like, that's the date we're gonna make sure we're gone by. And the RV show happened, right?
Yeah, on a whim. And I guess the whole reason RVing came up in the first place is because we were thinking we'd move to Sacramento, California, which is actually known to be a pretty good place geographically within California to be able to explore other places. It's not far from Tahoe. It's not far from San Francisco. You can get down to Yosemite, I believe, within a few hours. And I figured we'd be traveling a lot, so I thought getting a smaller RV for weekend travel would be cool. And I noticed they were having an RV show in our home city, so I figured we'd go try it out. So I suggested it. Jen was like, I don't know if I really feel like it. It was raining, but she ended up going along with it, and we went to the RV show.
So we were in the RV show, and again, I was reluctant. I was like, seriously, it's raining. This is gross out. We got into the RV that we actually ended up buying. Not that same RV, but the same model. And I was like, wow, this is really nice. Of course, they have everything. They've got like the ambiance with the fireplace. They have the lights on. They have music going. And I was like, this is pretty sweet. Like, it's not so bad. And then I had a moment where during the RV show, I was like, well, instead of us just driving a minivan, I used to have a minivan and loved it, across the US, what if we did an RV, and what if we took longer than just a 2-week vacation? What if we actually did this for 6 months? So shockingly, I was the one who said, what if? I can't remember your first reaction.
Well, I first thought you meant we're going to go right then, which I was in love with the idea. I was just in a place, we were having some challenges, and I just wanted to kind of just go. I was ready to go. I just was feeling it, and I was like, yeah, let's go. But turns out she was talking about it in a year.
Yeah, I'm a planner.
So I was like, okay, well, it still sounds cool.
Yeah, and so like some things kind of came together. And when Steve was referring to challenges, I do want to get into those a little bit just because they are relevant to our story. Our son Ben was having some problems adjusting to first grade. He got diagnosed with ADHD, and it was really rough for our family altogether. So with that going on, my mom got sick with cancer. That happened, and then
I was kind of in a career funk. I used to be a software engineer. That was my main thing, and then I stopped doing that. I started my own business, and never really at that point felt like I found something that I really felt like I wanted to be doing from a career perspective. So I was just ready to just kind of mix it up, change the routine around, and almost like hopefully shock us into something different. Well, I don't know that I even realized that. It ended up kind of doing that, I feel like, but I'm not even sure I realized that at the time. I just really wanted to get out of where we were and do something different.
So fast forward, and we said we made the decision. Unfortunately, my mom passed, and my stepmom passed, all within a matter of a month. And so that just kind of reiterated that life is short. Also, when you live in a place and a lot of things happen, a lot of things you see remind you of that. So with Ben having problems in school and kind of knowing that we were going to move, we pulled Ben out of school to start homeschool. Steve started homeschooling him. We had a really hot real estate market as well in Raleigh, and so we had a friend who is a real estate agent, and we just said, you know, when would be a good time to put our house on the market, and we decided spring would be good. So we started kind of laying the plans and laying the groundwork, and we kind of had those plans, right? And then Corona happened.
Yeah, so we got our house under contract, and when it was about to close is when the very initial freak out of COVID was happening, and everybody was pretty unsure as to what was gonna happen, and we were concerned that we weren't going to be able to actually move out because we didn't know if everything was going to be shut down that we needed to be able to pack up our boxes and everything else. So we just started immediately. It felt like we were racing against shutdown orders, which we didn't know what that meant at that time. So we were just like hustling real hard to get that house moved out. We ended up moving, I think, probably like a week or two before closing was scheduled. And then we came down here to Alabama. So the house did eventually close, which is great.
Closed on time, yeah.
Closed on time, yeah.
April 9th, I think, was our close date. We moved in March. So let me back up a bit, because our plans, like our original plans, and I think COVID screwed everyone's plans up. Our original plans were to leave, you know, have time, get our RV loaded up, and then take this nice time to get organized and go on the road from Raleigh. And then, as Steve said, Corona hit. We had our eyes on the RV we actually bought. We'd been talking to the sales guy for a while, and we were going to go see it, to go potentially buy it. And one of us got sick.
We were going to go sign the paperwork that day, I believe. And then we just got stomach bugs.
We got stomach bugs. It wasn't Corona, but we all got stomach bugs, and we said, hey, we're not coming in. And then we postponed it a week, and then this is when Corona hit, and it was in March, and I said, Steve, I'm just feeling like really uncomfortable. I'm feeling like we don't need to make this move right now. And if you remember when it first hit, like no one knew. Like Steve said, we didn't even know what stay-at-home orders were.
Everybody in the RV forums were talking about all the campgrounds getting shut down, and there was crazy uncertainty at that point in time.
Yeah, so we just said, I don't want to have an RV and then we can't go anywhere, and then where do we put it? It was just like, so we just said, it's not the time right now. We closed on the house. Actually, before we closed on the house, we moved, put all our stuff in pod storage, and we talk about that in another video, and came down to Alabama, where we actually are right now, to my dad's house, and we quarantined from March to July. So my poor dad, if you're watching, we really just invaded your home for a lot longer than you thought. And then what we figured, as Steve and I just kept we're kind of waiting for COVID to lessen up or to get better, and then we just figured it's not getting much better. It's summertime. This is probably the best time it's going to be, and let's just go for it. So we left mid-July-ish, right?
So we actually went back to North Carolina to buy the RV that we were going to buy originally, came back down to Alabama, and then we headed off on our journey.
Yeah, so like these little things you forget that we came down here and then we went back to Raleigh and then we came back. So
and the other point too, somehow we initially said 6 months, and then it was 9 months, and then it was a year. This is all before we left, and I'm not sure exactly how that happened. We didn't really discuss it. It just happened like, oh, now we're gonna be out for a year. And then, of course, I don't want to jump ahead in the story.
that's okay.
But we ended up deciding that, oh wow, we like this. Why are we gonna say a year? Let's just do it indefinitely until we decide that it's no longer right for us, and then we'll do something different.
Yeah, so we are now full-time. Our rig is in the shop. Again, another video about that, but we're staying at my dad's until the rig gets fixed, and then we'll be heading out for an indefinite period of time. I know that I'll want to settle one day. I'm not going to do this forever and ever, but we don't really know when it's going to end. You want to talk a little bit about the philosophy?
Yeah, so this is actually something that's really important to me, and this is and it's kind of tied into the name of our channel, The Road Less Traveled. And it's really just a philosophy that we have, and we suggest that people keep an open mind about. And that is, if the status quo of whatever's going on in your life right now isn't working, please be open to changing that and trying something different. Now, it's not necessarily just about going and getting an RV. It's just about doing something that's different that will actually kind of shock you out of your routine and help open your mind up to different things and different possibilities and different ways of living. And I've been thinking a lot more about some things actually on a deeper level, like not needing all that stuff and being more of a minimalist and enjoying the experiences, enjoying the time with my family. And just back when we were in a normal routine, I was so career focused and achievement focused, and it just felt like, and I didn't even know it at the time, but now that we're doing this and we're spending a lot more time with our family, I'm starting to see things that I was blind to back then.
And for my business, I train in corporate America, and I see a lot of people who have jobs that they hate, and they just do it because it's kind of like they need to hurry up and get to retirement. So it's interesting, and it's easy to get focused on just one thing and not see other possibilities around us. But if anything, I think COVID's been a gift. It's really worked out for us to be able to go out on the road. I mean, even if Ben was in school, he wouldn't be in person anyway. So how can you use kind of what's going on in our crazy world right now to turn it into something that maybe you've been wanting to do?
And even the whole idea of schooling, my philosophy has changed on that. When we first started homeschooling, it was just pretty awful. It was just really, really bad. It was just trying to, Ben's a little bit of, we call him stubborn, maybe. He doesn't like being told what to do. Kind of
like this guy. I wonder where he gets it.
And we just kept trying to force a particular curriculum, more of the traditional curriculum down his throat, and he just wasn't having it, and it was just a battle every single day. And now I'm starting to learn a few more things, and I feel like it's at least this week. I'm talking about
check
this
them
week.
Next week.
Homeschool is going great.
I'm just
These
saying,
kids are turning out great. We're doing a great job with them.
They're not bugging us right now.
This week.
All right, so we just want to talk to you about some thoughts on getting on the road, because if you are sitting on your couch or in front of your phone, your computer watching us, we were doing the same for other people. So we used to watch YouTube channels, and we still do, of people out on the road living their life, right, in an RV. And so I know some of you watch that are thinking about it or about to do it, or maybe you have no plans to ever do it. I don't know. But we wanted to think about, or talk about maybe a few things, or kind of how can you lay the groundwork if you do want to go full-time or go part-time or whatever that looks like for you, to getting on the road. The first thing, I think maybe the most important thing is to think about how you're going to make money, right? You have to make money. You can't just, unless you're independently wealthy, then you can go do this. But a few different ways to make income. You know, one is you keep your day job, and that is perfectly fine. We met one friend on the road. He works full-time for a company, and they know he's on the road and they could care less. Again, it's the times of COVID. A lot of people are working from home, so why can't you work from your rig? So that is something that you may need to work on over time. Plant some seeds and see if your employer would be open to letting you work remotely or on the road. So that's one option, is keeping your full-time job. Secondly is have my own business. You may or may not have your own business, and if it's portable, well, there you go. Third, we met another couple who sold their house, and then they used that money to live on the road without worrying about a job for a year or two. And then they said, after a year, we'll figure it out. And we'll figure out how we're going to make money. Side hustle? I mean, there's work camping, there's things like that you can do, but you were also talking about lowering expenses.
Yeah, so what I found is that we need significantly less money in this lifestyle than we did in the sticks and bricks lifestyle. I mean, we still have campground fees and so on, and food, groceries, stuff like that, but we don't have that big mortgage. What else was there associated with that lifestyle? I think is that the biggest one? Mortgage was pretty big for more than what I felt like we needed.
And when you don't live in a house, when you live in a house, you can order from Amazon and you end up just buying crap you don't need, right? So you just kind of push it in your house. And in a rig, you can't do that. There's you can't order easily to get things delivered if you're traveling a lot, and then you have nowhere to put it, right? So you just don't spend as much, or you have the ability not to spend as much. So there's ways to cut down on costs when you're out.
And also, when we had our big house, we still ended up being in the same, few square feet. Everybody would be in the kitchen bumping into each other. So
yeah.
It's like, why do we need all that extra space that nobody's even living in?
Yeah, I mean, when your kids are little, like ours are, they're around you all the time. So yeah, I can't get away from them. The other thing about your house, I mean, you could rent it out, you could sell it. There's many things you can do with it, but obviously you need to figure out what to do with your house and your stuff. But ultimately, you can live off less stuff. You don't need as much stuff when you're in an RV. The other thing I wanted to mention, because it's a lot of what I've seen in forums and Facebook groups, is that you can get really caught up in analysis paralysis. You can get caught up in what's the most perfect way it can all happen, and you want guarantees that you're gonna love it. But the truth is, you may not love it. I think a lot of advice is go rent one and go, see if you even like it. We didn't take any of that advice and just went for it, because I guess we figured, if we don't like it, then we'll just go settle and we'll have the RV. We'll do something else, right? Yeah, sure, it's a financial hit, and it would have been a financial hit if we didn't like it. But we knew that didn't like it. We'd settle somewhere we could still use the RV, just not full time. So I just get out of your head a little bit on getting on the road. Of course, have a plan. You don't just go willy-nilly, but don't drive yourself insane trying to plan and wait for the perfect moment.
Yeah, it's almost never going to work out exactly how you planned it anyway.
No, not at all. And I guess I just wanted to offer a few tips on that, because and tell our story too, because there are just all of these things happened over the course of a year or two that led us to this, and kind of who knows what's going to happen in the next year. We don't really know, and as we've seen, that anything can happen. Anything to add?
No, I think we covered it. If you feel like subscribing, hit the subscribe button. If you have something to add, please leave a comment below, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up button. We will see you next week.
Thanks.